For over 10 years, one woman has been obsessed with meeting the same Disney character, Peter Pan. She traveled to Disneyland, followed him around the park, brought him gifts, and recorded almost every interaction. But recently, one video went viral, and suddenly millions of people were calling her a stalker. So who exactly is Toni, and did she really cross the line? Because the deeper you look into this story, the stranger it gets. Toni is a Disney superfan and she has been sharing her experiences at Disneyland online for years. Her TikTok account, BabyToni99, is almost entirely focused on Disney, from the characters and attractions to the events she attends. And a lot of people were asking, where does she get the money to be at Disney so often? Because it's definitely not something cheap. And I wasn't able to find that out, but if we look at her TikTok numbers, I think we can say that she makes some good money from it. But I don't want to tell you some facts that are not official. And there's one character who appears in her videos a lot, Peter Pan. According to reports, Toni has been visiting Disneyland regularly for around a decade. And over the years, she has recorded countless interactions with the different performers who play Peter Pan. And that's actually an important detail because there isn't just one Peter Pan. Different actors have played the character over the years, which means that when you look through Toni's older videos, you're actually seeing her interact with multiple different performers. To Toni, this appears to be a long-running love for the character and the whole Disney experience. But once you start going through years of footage, some of these interactions begin to look very different from what would other visitors do. And that's where this story gets interesting. Because what started as one Disney fan's obsession with Peter Pan eventually turned into a viral controversy. And when I watched the videos myself, I had so many questions. We're going to look closer into that obsession now. To understand this story more, we need to go back. Way before Toni went viral in 2026, she was already documenting her encounters with Peter Pan at Disneyland. Some of the footage goes all the way back to around 2015. And this isn't just a story about one actor. Over the years, Toni has interacted with multiple different performers playing Peter Pan. She's taken pictures with them, walked through the park with them, talked to them, and even brought them gifts. In fact, Toni herself has described her Peter Pan visits as being a part of her life for more than 10 years, saying that she has been visiting Neverland once a week. And when you look at the footage from 2016 and compare it to what she's posting today, there's one thing that immediately stands out. Peter Pan may be her favorite character. Different actors, different years, but the same character. Toni even posted a video comparing footage of herself with Peter Pan from 2016 to footage from 2026. And that video alone gained millions of views. To people watching these videos for the first time, something feels off. Because some of the interactions aren't just quick photos and a goodbye. They're long conversations. She sometimes follows the characters through the park, and in one of the most controversial videos, she even spent weeks making a handmade gift especially for Peter Pan. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, she's a huge Peter Pan fan, what's the problem? And honestly, if all Toni did was take a picture with Peter Pan once a week, there probably wouldn't be much of a story here, even though people usually visit Disneyland once a year at most. But when you start watching more of her videos, the interactions become a lot more intense. Toni doesn't just meet Peter Pan, she actively looks for him. In some of her videos, she follows him through the park, talks to him for extended periods of time, and tries to spend as much time around him as possible. And then there are the gifts. To her, it seems incredibly meaningful. But then you watch Peter's reaction. He's working. He's supposed to be friendly. He's supposed to stay in character. And he's supposed to make guests feel welcome. So even if he is uncomfortable, he can't exactly turn around and say, please leave me alone. And that's what made people start looking at these videos differently. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about a woman who really loves Disney. People started asking whether Toni was taking advantage of the fact that the performer was literally being paid to be nice to her and he can't talk to her normally. He has to stay in the character. By the way, tell me in the comments, what do you think about all this? And then there is the one famous video that you all have probably seen. The video has about 40 million views now. Just search for Toni and Peter Pan on TikTok and the video will literally find you itself, if it already hasn't. On the video, we can see Toni giving Peter Pan a crocheted bird. I think she asks him if he wants it, then she asks if she can record herself giving it to him again so it would be on video, you know what I mean? And then she follows him in the park and the vibe of the video is just kind of weird. If a kid did this, it would probably be cute, but when an adult is doing this, it's a bit weird, especially if it's someone who's literally coming to Disneyland that often and is seeing Peter Pan regularly. I will try to give you all the videos I'm talking about into this video, but I guess you probably saw all of them already. As the internet was debating whether Toni's behavior could actually be considered stalking, a former Disney World performer who had played Peter Pan decided to share his own experience.
A month she was there every shift, waiting.
And importantly, he wasn't talking about Toni. He was talking about a completely different woman, but a lot of people on the internet thought it was about Toni and it was spread like a fact. According to him, while he worked at Disney World, this woman would come to his Peter Pan meet and greet almost every single time he was working, and she wouldn't just wait in line once. He said she would repeatedly circle the queue trying to see Peter Pan. She was an adult, and according to the performer, she would repeatedly ask him disturbing questions that he said alluded to sexual assault and sexual harassment. He explained that uncomfortable behavior from adult guests wasn't limited to his own experience. He said that female Disney performers also dealt with men who would repeatedly follow them through queues, make inappropriate comments, and in some cases even become physically handsy. His message to guests was simple. If you're an adult visiting Disney and you want to meet a character, be respectful and kind to the person behind the character. And while this story has absolutely nothing to do with Toni, it gives us an important piece of context. Disney performers are working. They're expected to stay friendly. They're expected to stay in character or simply do their job. And there are people who are abusing these rules. So what actually happens when a Disney performer feels uncomfortable or unsafe around a guest? Because remember, these performers aren't just allowed to walk away whenever they want. They're working. They're expected to stay in character, interact with guests, take pictures, and maintain the experience Disney is selling. So how are they supposed to deal with someone who crosses the line? Disney has an entire safety structure in places for its cast members. Disneyland says that safety is one of the core priorities, and employees have multiple ways to report safety concerns. The resort even has a dedicated safety services duty manager who cast members can contact to report safety issues. And for character performers, there's another important person nearby, the character attendant. Former Disney employees have described attendants as the people who can step in when something becomes uncomfortable or dangerous. The performer can communicate that something is wrong without necessarily breaking character. The attendant can then intervene, manage the guest, or get additional help if necessary. And this is especially important because the performer themselves may not be able to simply say, "I'm uncomfortable, please leave me alone." They're Peter Pan or some other character. They're supposed to behave like that character. So the person standing next to them can effectively become their extra set of eyes and ears. Disney also provides dedicated employee safety and wellness resources, including safety committees, a cast care center, and other programs designed to support cast members' physical and emotional well-being. However, there's one thing that we should be careful about. There's a lot of information online claiming that Disney has specific secret rooms or designated safe rooms where performers can hide from stalkers. I couldn't find an official Disney source confirming that. So rather than repeating rumors, what we can actually establish is that performers have safety procedures, supervisors, attendants, security resources, and internal reporting systems available to them. And that makes the Toni situation even more interesting. Because if a performer genuinely feels that a guest is crossing boundaries, there are mechanisms in place for them to get help. The question is, did any of these mechanisms ever need to be used with Toni? And as far as publicly available evidence goes, that's something we simply don't know. Did Disney ban Toni? People online were calling for her to be banned from Disneyland, but so far there is no reliable public confirmation that Disney actually did it. In fact, there are reports and posts suggesting that she continued visiting the park after the controversy. So for now, the idea that Toni was officially banned appears to be just another internet rumor. So this was all for this video, and see you in the next one.